desirous of entering its offices must show proof of vaccination, that is, hard copy vaccination.
On Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. My name is Joshua Van Sleckman. I thank Kevin Smith for bringing to us our weekend review. And of course, it is time for your Sunday, August 8th main newscast. Just before I get into the news in details, let me turn my attention to the front page of the Kaieteur News that is titled Diamond Report Published About Guyana's Oil Earnings. A Diamond report has emerged about Guyana's production sharing agreement with ExxonMobil, Hess and CNOOC, commissioned by the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis, the IEEFA, a United States non-profit corporation. The report was authored by Tom Zanzalo, an American investment banker and financial analyst. The July 2021 report paints a frightening picture of Guyana's gains from the oil reserve, entitled Lack of Ring Fencing Provision means Guyana won't realize oil gains before 2030s. If at all. The report highlights how the contract leaves Guyana at the mercy of the oil companies. Sanzalo reports dissects the oil contract and shows how it allows the oil companies to charge Guyana 100% for the exploration in the Stabroek block and make these charges against active blocks. He explains how the oil companies will end up receiving more than Guyana in the early years of production and details how absence of ring fencing reduces the profits which Guyana earns. The author argues that in short term, Guyana's oil earnings will be insufficient to cover its budget deficit and in the long term would unlikely provide robust revenues. The report is a must-read for all Guyanese, and you can read the full report on pages 58 to 61. And in our headlines this morning, Conservation International Guyana pulls out from $10 million U.S. Exxon funding. Partisan politics responsible for Guyana's 20-year impasse on judicial appointments of Chancellor and Chief Justice. Crowbar might have killed workers and security guard found dead at mining camp. More than 50% tainted by alarming acts of corruption. And in the multi-million-dollar gold hest, evidence links Sophia Man to crime, and one more arrested. And now for the news in details. With your Sunday, August 8th morning newscast, my name is Joshua Van Sleckman. Thank you for joining us. Conservation International Guyana, also known as CI Guyana, has recently pulled out from a US $10 million funding from oil giant ExxonMobil due to the company's poor environmental practices. ExxonMobil Foundation in July 2018 had stated that they will contribute $10 million to a new collaboration with CI Guyana and the University of Guyana to train Guyanese for suitable job opportunities and to expand community-supported conservation. According to ExxonMobil Guyana, The investment was intended to support Guyana's Green State Development Plan, which was labeled as the country's 15-year development plan that aimed to diversify Guyana's economy and balance economic growth with the sustainable management and conservation of the country's ecosystems. Exxon was to provide funding over a 5-year period. Since issuing its invitation for bid in July for companies to submit bids to sell Guyana's oil entitlement from the Liza Destiny vessel, a total of 15 regional and international companies submitted tenders. Upon a parliamentary review of the companies vying to sell Guyana's crude, Kaieteur discovered that 8 of the bidders and of the primaries are linked to scandals, foreign bribery, and widespread corruption. These companies include China Offshore, Oil Singapore, and International London, SA Switzerland, and Luke Oil Pan America. These well-documented malpractices, which have resulted in convictions and fines, have also ensnared senior executives of these oil companies and traders, while others are still under investigation. You can get the full details of that story in today's Kaieteur News. You're listening to your main newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. It is Sunday, August 8. We continue with the news. According to international media agency Reuters, ExxonMobil Corporation is considering a pledge to reduce its net carbon emission to zero by 2050. According to sources familiar with the matter, Reuters reported that the deliberation comes as the company is considering its future, according to the sources who spoke on the condition of anonymous because the discussion are private. This comes on the heels of 3 directors being replaced with candidates proposed by a new hedge fund, which has been pressuring Exxon to boost returns and better prepare itself for a low-carbon world. Exxon has not made a final decision on the net zero pledge, according to the Wall Street Journal, which first reported that the pledge is being considered, and it added that the company planned to unveil a series of strategic moves on environmental and other issues before the end of 2021. Exxon declined to comment, saying the deliberations of the board are private, but said that it is committed to working to decarbonize high-emitting sectors and invest in technologies that will help society achieve a net zero future. Meanwhile, a point of continuous embarrassment for Guyana's judiciary is that for the past 20 years, Guyana has remained without a substantive chancellor and the chief justice, despite a constitutional amendment being enacted in 2001 to provide a more transparent and inclusive process of appointment. The legal instrument that empowers the appointment of the top 2 judicial posts is the Constitution of Guyana. The process is governed by Article 127.1, which originated from the constitutional reform process of 1999 to 2001. Article 127.1 provides as follows: the Chancellor and Chief Justice shall each be appointed by the President, acting after obtaining the agreement of the Leader of the Opposition. According to now Minister of Legal Affairs and Attorney General Anil Nandalal, in a 2017 letter, this was one of the nearly 200 constitutional amendments unanimously enacted during that period. The position, which existed in the 1980 Constitution, empowers the President to make those appointments after the consultation with the minority leader. The requirement of consultation has now been replaced by agreement. It might have been a crowbar that was used to murder a security guard and another worker at a watchman's camp close to the mining site in the Blackwater Backdam Kuyuni River, Region 7. The murdered men are identified as a 31-year-old Stephen Niles, a security guard, and Suresh Bachchan, 62, a worker who was found dead. One in a hammock and the other in a makeshift bed around 6 hours on Thursday, not too far away from the blood-stained crowbar was found. An autopsy was conducted and the remains on Friday revealed that the men were beat to death with a heavy object, with Niles also suffered a fractured spine. Their cause of death is leading investigators to believe that the crowbar found nearby was probably the murder weapon. And finally, at this time, an investigation continued into a multi-million-dollar gold heist which took place on Thursday. Police have found evidence at the house located in Sophia, linking its owner to the crime. As the hunt hit down, they have been successful in arresting another suspect who they believe played a part in the heist as well. The heist had occurred around 10 hours at Wallen Enterprise, a company that trades gold located in Gordon Street, Kitty. 3 armed men posing as gold dealers had carted off $20 million worth in gold and $38 million cash from the business establishment. Cops that same day had detained the security guard who was on duty at the time and had let them in. He still remains in custody. On Friday, cops had reportedly received a tip-off that 3 men who had robbed the business were hiding out in the location in Camerville. They rushed down to the location, and a resident in the area had related that no one was home at the time and the ranks had broken down the door to gain entrance to the house. It is unclear if the cops had found anything that had linked the occupant to the crime, but sometime later they arrested a second individual. This is your main newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. I turn my attention to page 7 of the Kaieteur News that is dedicated of being blunt. More and more Guyanese are coming out against the expensive and secretive gas ashore project. Yet the PPP under the president and vice president barrel ahead recklessly without paying any mind to what Guyanese are saying or the serious concerns they have. In the mix-up minds of the main leaders of this country, this is what passes for the accountability and answering of the people. Apparently, the accountability part of democracy does not apply here. Now the government announces that it is looking for a project manager and a senior engineer for the gas ashore project. This is accountability in Guyana, only in Guyana, since leaders don't dare something like this in Jamaica or Trinidad or even Haiti. Think about that, fellow citizens. And with that, we've come to the end of your main newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Let me remind you that you can get the full details of these stories and much more by picking up a copy of the Kaieteur News at a newsstand near you or head across to our website at kaieteurnewsonline.com. My name is Joshua Van Sleckman on behalf of the news and technical team, saying thank you for joining us, encouraging you to practice social distancing, wear your face mask, and most of all, practice good hand hygiene. Until we meet again, thank you for joining us. Reminding you, coming up at 11 o'clock, it is time for the rebroadcast of that Glenn Nall show. And of course, coming up at 13 hours is going to be time for Bollywood tunes. And later on at 16 hours, that second rebroadcast comes your way after the Glenn Nall show. Have a great remainder of your Sunday, everybody.